Hey everyone, today I wanted to bring you a new deck with the new patch, and this is a bit of Arachas Queen that I've been trying out since she actually recently got buffed to now be able to spawn 3 little drones of 1 strength each. She can do that in any round, 3 charges, in the same way that maybe Ithne works or whatever. So that I think makes her a little bit better than she already was, and she was, close to maybe becoming a playable leader, but with this change, she probably is there. Might not be the strongest leader or deck ever, but definitely one I've had fun experimenting with today, and have won a few games with as well. And kind of the whole idea, of course, is to get some nice 1 strength tokens on the board and then synergize with Glusty Warp, consume effects as well, Yennefer, stuff like that, Forktail, to really blow up the board, your side and the enemies. But when you blow up your own side of the board, it doesn't really matter because you have all those drones that just respawn effectively, come back to life. So pretty cool idea, and I've been experimenting with lots of versions. There was one with Summoning Circle that I'm sure a lot of people have tried, and you're welcome to try as well. I wasn't really enjoying Circle and Varan, so I took them out, and instead we're just playing for a lot of value and hopefully not going to be easy to bleed this deck if the opponent chooses to go for that, which they often do if they win the round 1. So what else do we have? We have, of course, Germain, we have Nest to spawn lots of 1-point units, we have Foglets as well, and even Neckers are there, but they're more for Thrive than to, eat them yourself. But of course, they're another way to swarm the board a bit and get more Horn value, more Yennefer value if you go for the boost option. Of course, Yennefer, when you do the damage option, is also very powerful, because if you kill any of your own units, they'll just come back as 1-point dudes, so you don't lose too much value from her damage effect. And apart from that, Glusty Warp is kind of the main finisher, although it's very vulnerable to big tool removal, so a lot of the time you either need to have last save for that, or just hope they don't have tool removal to deal with it. Otherwise, we just have Crones, we have Riders for a bit of thinning. Wyvern has also been changed and now has Thrive, so this is a pretty good card. It's not quite up to 4, which is a hard Thrive amount to proc on something like Werewolf. Instead, 3, you can play your 4 strength units and get that Thrive bonus where you wouldn't otherwise get it. Drowners, of course, also pretty good still. And yeah, Griffin, sorry, to work with those 1 strength units. Also Frightener, just to kind of protect your little 1 strength boys a little bit, and of course can be a huge swing. Not too much artifact removal going around either, since the spear nerf has come into effect, and Horn for big tempo, yeah. And that's pretty much the whole deck. It works pretty well, and I had a fun time actually winning games with Arachas Queen for once, with some pretty nice and powerful combos that hopefully the opponent isn't expecting. And yeah, so that's the deck. Let's jump into a game or two and see how it works. Okay, we're going to be up against Morvran, first opponent. Still quite a powerful leader, I think. Not many of their cards got changed, and a few of them got buffed, as far as I know. So let's see what we can do. We have some pretty good cards here. We maybe could throw away a Thrive unit, maybe a Drowner, although it's kind of nice to do with Magni Division sometimes. I think 1 Nest we can get rid of. Don't really need those until later in the game, right? Forktail we could also drop if we don't want to use that this round, but we might find use for it. So I think we could drop the Wyvern or the Drowner here. Even the Alpha Werewolf is, yeah, maybe even better to get rid of. Bit of a weird one, but I'm going to drop 1 Wyvern. We don't really want to have too many Thrive units of the same strength. It can be a bit awkward to use them properly. So it looks like Riders are our first play. We don't really have anything else to go with. Normally we might go with a Necker or something, or Foglet, but don't have any right now. We can, of course, Drowner this into, whatever row is most useful for us to do that with. Or we could just Drowner and then Drowner again and kill it with the Drowners, or even with a Wyvern. That's also another option. I think I'm going to go for that just because I want to get some points and engines on the board as soon as possible, otherwise the opponent might, pressure and then overcome, right?
You shall hear out what I have to say.
It's going to be Trehan. Hopefully it doesn't discard anything too good. Crone's gone. Not Yennefer though, so that's not too bad. Or Frightener or whatever. Could have been worse. And he's going to buff this, it looks like, which means we can just drown her, and again, we don't have to go for that Wyvern. Works out fine, and we actually get a leader charge from him, which is pretty nice in round 1. But we'll see what happens.
Fight for the Emperor.
Just going to be a slave driver for now. We can just fire our Wyvern off now, get those Thrive bonus points going. I want to find a unit that's hopefully under 8 points to actually use the tactical advantage on, but it might be kind of hard. Might be kind of difficult. D-Shackle's going to come out. We could of course play Nest and then tactical advantage one of the small units that comes out, or Jermaine similarly, but I think Nest here is fine. We really want to get a target for the Griffin, and this will also allow us of course to tactical advantage and get those points. But we'll see if the opponent's even committed to this round. They might not be. Gonna have that glusty Jermaine finisher and all sorts of nice stuff later. And even Forktail here looks reasonable. Not really doing too much. Like a 5-point card or something. I think we'll just play Griffin instead. Keep the points rolling and maybe take a pass pretty soon. Could commit Horn if we want, but Jermaine will enable that later, so we can chill. It's going to be just a wolf, and now I think taking a pass is pretty good. They need 11, which is quite a lot. They've obviously got the Morvan charges, but if they use those, it's kind of they're losing points that they would have otherwise later in the game. Of course. And looking kind of okay for now. You can see you can get a lot of points even without stuff like Vrans and Ruahin and all that nonsense that you might otherwise play in Queen. I think just going for pure value is a nice way to do it, because we end up being able to push pretty hard in round 1, 2 and 3, not just in a long round where you have your engines, where you typically might struggle in a short round with Vrans and whatnot. So all the more Vran charges are gone, which is incredibly good. We're effectively, I mean, not a whole card up, but you can kind of think of it that way with our Queens still being up and the opponent's not being available, so that's nice. Alpha Werewolf again, not particularly great. I think we can get rid of this card. We could also get rid of Forktail, but that might be okay. Especially when we're reacting to the opponent's plays. And then Wyvern, I'm not a huge fan. I'm going to mulligan it. In this situation, it's not particularly useful. Not a super long round, and it'll probably get locked or dealt with anyway, the Thrive ability, so keeping the Foglet, as we can play it on the dry pass here, should we want to, and I think we do. It's one of those risky cards to play against Nilfgaard, because they can lock it and trade really well on that with Alba or whatever. Here we probably have a bit too many Forktails though, so we'll mulligan one of those, maybe even a second one. We do have the Glusty and Yennefer, so it feels a little bit overkill to have a Forktail in addition to those two. I think I'm just going to get rid of it. And Neckers aren't even that bad here, to be honest. No Dolbathan Archer or anything to really deal with them. So we can just open, and hopefully they'll survive. They might get Orcs, I guess, but even that wouldn't be the end of the world. They at least provide bodies on the board, which we can translate into little drones later. And we're going to try to swarm this front row a bit. I was also playing around with Behemoth before, because of course Nest and Queen work very well with that, but it just wasn't really performing how I wanted it to, so decided to remove it after a while. But okay, we can go with Wyvern here, I think, and get the Thrive going. We could also just wait on it and go with more, you know, Nest, Jermaine, something like that, to get some more 1-point units on the board and maybe go for a Glusty, but I think going for this is fine before we start dropping Jermaine and whatnot. Need to be careful not to row stack this row too hard. It could be a problem. And there is the Orc, so that comes down a turn too late, so we get a little bit of extra value from the Neckers. Not too sad about that, that's fine. And they're still going to get blown up by Yen if we go for damage, and then, you know, not be losing us too much value there, so We'll probably want to do that before we Glusty, I imagine, because it will create a couple more 1 strength units for that Glusty. Especially if we can damage his side of the board as well, right? So I think going for Nest or Jermaine now is perfectly fine. Probably go Jermaine. Since he will proc the Wyvern, maybe the Wyvern will take damage or get locked. And we want to get that Thrive value from it before that happens. So yeah, we can also go for the boost on Yen. That's very viable here because we have so many units on the board, and we will do with Nest as well. Only problem with that is it's going to negate Glusty if we then want to go for it later. And maybe that's not a bad thing because Glusty will kind of be a little bit vulnerable to Leo and Peter and all this stuff. Shoop though going to come down. He did get nerfed recently, so Hunter's not going to be nearly as strong as it used to, and the 9 damage effect is not really going to do a lot against this board. Might kill a couple of ones. See what he goes for. Looks like it was just the boost, so only... Oh no! It was destroy a random enemy, and he hit a cow. That's not particularly useful. It must be said. But okay, we can probably go with the Nest now. We're going to ramp up into Glusty, and then hopefully Yennefer after that. And as you see, we have a ton of units on the board. A lot of leaders are really struggling to deal with the amount of swarm that you can put out. Some can. Ithne in particular is very good against this stuff. Oh wait, he put rain on. I thought it was a destroy random enemy. I can't even see. It's rain. Never mind. That's actually maybe better for them than the alternative. So whatever. Let's play Glusty now, I think. It'll probably get answered, but it's fine. We can also play our little queen hatchlings if we want a little bit of extra value. I'm actually a little bit worried that our board will get completely full up with units. That's kind of a little bit worrying, to be honest. But you know what? How much space do we have left? That's actually a real question we have to ask. I think we're okay for now. We'll put them in the rain here. We need to make sure that we can put Yennefer on the back row. God, this is going to be a very messy situation. The Yennefer might get blocked, to be honest. Okay. Let's just go for it. Running out of time. I don't know if this is going to end well, to be quite honest, because I have no space on my board. Oh, it's just beautiful, though, the things you can do. Okay, so unfortunately we can't play Yennefer on the back row. That's kind of awkward. But that might not be too bad of a thing. We can always do damage with it and it won't be terrible because effectively the damage doesn't even count on any of these 1 strength units, right? So we'll just be hitting for a little bit less than we would for the other option, but it's possible they'll kill a drone here anyway and then give us the value that we want. And we'll see. It's pretty crazy though, the amount of points this Glusty has given us. I imagine it will get dealt with, but if it doesn't, then I think we just win off of that, to be honest. You can see how powerful it can be as a last play if the opponent can't answer it. Unicorns are pretty good though. The rain doesn't do anything to these drones, so that's pretty nice. We can just go ahead and play an Archgriffin now. Or a Griffin. I always call them Archgriffins, they used to be called Archgriffin. See if we can do it. I don't know, playing Yen for damage feels a bit weird here, it must be said. I think it's still going to be very powerful actually. What am I talking about? It's still going to be incredibly strong. The drone's taking the hit for the team once again. So we can probably go ahead and play the Crone now, I guess. Play it over here. And then we'll maybe go with this Yennefer ability on the front. I'm still kind of hoping they're going to damage one of the drones on the back and we'll get the big boost, but kind of unlikely for that to happen at this point, I think. But Yennefer's going to be a solid, I don't know, 10 points, something like that. We might be in trouble if Glusty gets answered, to be quite honest. That will be quite a terrifying thing, I think. What are they going to go for? Probably the Crone, I imagine. Oh, if you can kill one of my drones on the back, that would be very appreciated. That's fine, we don't really lose any value there. So let's go with the Yennefer now. Just slam it for big damage. Oh, wow. This is absolute nonsense. I really, really love how this deck plays. It's pretty funny. We've completely row stacked the board. We do have Horn as the last play, which is a pretty powerful one. We'll see if they have the way to deal with Glusty. Honestly, I think even if they do, they probably don't have enough points to win. Just pretty hilarious. I'm going to play on the back row in case of Yerden, of course. 27-point Glusty. If they do take that out with a Geralt, it won't be enough. And it looks like we take them down, so... Well, you can see how many points this deck can get and how many units you can get on the board. It's pretty insane. Let's jump into another game and see if we can do that again. Okay, next up we're going to be against Morvran. Awesome. Another Morvran player. Alright, what should we go with? Probably Mulligan on the Arachas Nest is fine. We can also get rid of maybe one Griffin. And that will be quite a nice hand, I think, here. And yeah, we'll see how we go here. We've got a Drowner opening play if we want it. Can be nice to save them for Magni divisions, although presumably if you started with the Standard Bearer or Sergeant, Sergeant, then you probably won't have a Magni as well. So I think we're fine to go with the Drowner opener. Play Wyvern after as well. And then we will see. We do have Frightener, which is an option. I mean, even playing it as the first play might have been a good idea, because we could have protected our Drowner from actually dying a little bit, but not really too concerned. I don't even think I want to play it this round. It's quite a nice late game tool if you want to put out a lot of points, which we probably do. Let's just play Wyvern and then maybe get the Thrives happening. Maybe I should have hit the Letho, but I don't think it really matters. This is Serret as well, so we're getting some nice removal from them early on, which is what I like to see. Probably just play a Forktail here. I'm sure we'll be able to catch up in 3 cards, it's not really an issue, so we'll just get rid of a card and hopefully trade more, you know, for some of their good stuff, hopefully.
I always find a way in.
Infiltrator's not really a good one, but we can maybe play that back at him if we're going to take a pass here, which I'm not sure we do. We could go for something like Griffin if we wanted to be a little bit adventurous, or Nest into Griffin. Nest, Griffin, and then Riders should be enough, I do think. 16 plus 4, right? So that would be enough points. And I think we'll do it. I don't think we need the Nest that badly when we already have Jermaine, and if we're able to win the round, then that would be lovely. Probably won't be able to, but you never know. Go ahead and play Griffin now. And there is the option to play Frighten into Glusty this round if we want to really push hard. Of course, if you give the Glusty away in round 1, then you're not going to have, like, the last save won't matter for it in round 3, so a little bit awkward.
Time to get our hands dirty.
It's going to be a Viper Witcher. Actually getting rid of the Crone is pretty feels bad event. We can now play the Riders though, so we'll probably do that. And then we'll have to catch up in 1 with, I guess, Glusty if they pass, or Jermaine, potentially. Which doesn't necessarily feel good, but I mean Jermaine to take the round will be okay if we can do that. I do think we can. Haven't done the maths. We can also, of course, play Weaves and then a leader charge as well, but... So here, is it worth committing Frightener and Glusty to win the round or not? That's the real question. I think it probably is. I want to say that it is. Just because having last say and all the reactivity of this deck is quite nice. If you let them build the board up and then react to that with the damage, it can be quite powerful. So let's try to get last say here. Play that Glusty, and we've traded pretty nicely this round. Haven't played too many good cards. We'll end up having only really committed Glusty and the Frightener. It seems like the opponent's committed quite a bit of good stuff. We do have double Infiltrator in the deck now though, which is a bit of a problem. And that may have been reason for us to you know, allow ourselves to lose the first round. That being said, I don't want to get too owed, and that can be a risk sometimes if your hand isn't, you know, what you need. But we'll take the round win and hopefully draw into Yen and do a similar thing to last game, but with last say as well, if we're able to. We have Horn, which is nice. Let's take the dry pass. Can't really afford to risk losing the card. Give me a tray hunt. Please don't do it. Okay, getting rid of Neck is actually good for us. But most of our deck is pretty awful at this point. We just need that Yennefer if we can get it. Would be very, very good news. Because we don't really have that much anymore that will synergize with lots of dudes. We got rid of that Glusty Warp, of course. So. Get rid of the Infiltrator here. And we'll get rid of the other Infiltrator. Okay, so we have Griffin to proc the Foglets, but no other way to proc the other one. Gonna have to rely on him killing it or locking it or whatever. And we're kind of sad we don't get that Yennefer. In fact, we're very sad. Infiltrators really hurt that. We'll see if it's doable. I'm pretty sure we should be losing this, but you never know what will happen. We've seen some of the good cards already, but there's more to come from Morvenny. There's a ton of provisions. We'll see. Jermaine is points, but we don't, yeah, as I say, we don't have any way to really profit from the small units that we're going to have, and this is a shame. I'm just going to be trading down with the Foglets probably onto locks, but what can you do? Not a whole lot. We do have Horn, which, you know, provides a lot of value, of course. And we've got the Thrive unit, which I don't think will be surviving, unfortunately. I'm going to try to limit the Slave infantry value if they have any of those. Which they probably aren't. I mean, they probably are. I mean, yeah. What am I saying? What am I saying? I don't know. So we could go and play the Griffin. I kind of want to try to play around Leo if possible. I think the way we're going to win this game is from playing around the damage and the cards that they have at the moment. As much as we can. In fact, playing onto front row is probably a Dumbo idea. Because now I can't get full Jermaine value. Unless they do Blue Dream Glusty Warp. That actually does work. But okay, that's going to be yeah, pretty big counter to us. Seems like. Pretty sure we cannot win that. And maybe that's a reason not to play Glusty first round, to be perfectly honest. A little bit dangerous if the opponent steals it. In fact, very dangerous. One of the downsides I hadn't even twigged. It's fair to say. I'm pretty sure we just don't have the points numerically, but we'll see how close it ends up being. Yeah, maybe with a Leo or a Peter. It's kind of close, but not really. Not really. Tybal's only 9, but it's still a Tibble, isn't it? And we are actually going to be forced to play into... I guess we can do this. To play around Leo a little bit. But yeah, we're a little bit far behind. That Glusty was a bit too much. The only counter to Arachas Queen is Arachas Queen itself. That's the takeaway, I think, from this. There's a Peter, last card. So that's going to be a wrap. And we might have been able to do this with Yen, but ultimately playing Glusty round 1 was probably not a good idea. But yeah. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of the deck and how it works. It's pretty crazy when it happens and when it all comes together, which it quite often does. I think Arachas Queen is, I would say, playable now. It might not be the best, but it looks to be a leader that you can definitely have some fun with and actually win some games with. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.